CDISC. Okay. So CDISC means it's a clinical data interchange standards consortium. Okay. So it is all about the clinical data only. It's not about how to conduct the clinical trial, and it's not about like how to deal with the patient. So it's not like a practical thing. It is just only how to manage the clinical data. So that's why I mean it is showing like this. CDISC, clinical data interchange standards consortium. So what do you mean by interchanging? Interchanging means actually it is nothing but the exchanging of the information between the CRO organizations and the USFDA regulatory authorities, or exchange the information between two CRO organizations, or exchange the information between like one department to the other department. Like it is all like interchanging the data between different organizations. Okay, so that's called the clinical data interchange standards consortium. So standards consortium means the clinical data should be in one standard. See, for example, let's assume there are different CRO organizations are there. CRO organization means usually those are the contract research organization, or we also call it the clinical research organization, right? So these clinical research organizations, they will send the information to the USFDA for to get the approval of the some particular product. So if all the CRO organizations are following their own standards, then it will be difficult for the US FDA to cross-check the reports. Okay, because everyone sent in their own format. So the US FDA will take some time to understand those things, and it will again, contact these people if they have any doubts. So that's why, if there is a like a common format, then that will be easy for them to cross-check, right? So that's why like for last just 3 4 years onwards only the CDISC implementation has been started. But before CDISC implementation, only the interchanging, I mean the exchanging the data between CRO nations and the US FDA, it took a lot of time. Okay, like even 5 10 years also it happened. Okay, just to get the permission after conducting a clinical trial, only with the data exchange. But nowadays, as the technology has improved and the communication system has been developed, so uh, everything we are doing electronically. So in the olden days, I think you might be knowing that, so the data will be collected in the form of the case report forms, paper case report forms. So printing the paper case report form and giving those case report form to the investigator, the investigator has to fill the case report form, and again those case report forms will be collected with the data managers. Then they have to consolidate the data. So like this, it took a lot of time. But nowadays we are using the EDC, electronic data capture. Electronic data capture means throughout world, let us assume there are some 5 6 centers are there, or 10 centers are there. So every center, the investigator, he will just log on to the sponsor website. The sponsor website contains, I mean, they will give a link. If you click on that link, then it will open the sponsor website where you have to fill the patient's information into the website. Then that is electronically captured by the sponsor immediately. So no need to fill the case report forms, and no need to collect them, no need to accrue them, no need to clean them, no need to validate them. Automatically that content will be within seconds, the sponsor will get the information if you fill in the online forms. Okay, so that's called electronic data capture. So using this electronic data capture, the data will be collected from multiple centers throughout the world within no time, right? So that is how it became very fast. And the main purpose of the CDISC is to like maintain the standards, okay, across all the organizations and all the steps also. See, for example, you know to conduct a clinical trial, the protocol will be generated. So there are some rules to create the protocol. Okay, so those rules are again defined by the CDISC. So CDISC contains some standards. Standards means from protocol, from planning to until sending the reports to the FDA. So in each and every level, they developed some standards. So when you see the planning means who will plan the trial. So there's a protocol development team will be there. So they will plan a protocol, or they will create a protocol. So how the protocol should be, what are the contents of the protocol should be. So those are defined in this protocol standard, like that. Later, from the protocol, the case report forms will be created, and from the case report form, the data will be collected. So, at the, I mean, at the collection or at the origin of the data only, if you follow the data collection standards, then the data will be like in a standard format till you make the analysis, right? So that's why the data management team, they are creating the case report forms, and they're maintaining some standards while collecting the data. So those standards are two types. One is CDISC and the lab. CDISC means clinical data acquisition standards harmonization, means while acquiring the data from the patients itself. Okay, we are maintaining some standards. Means earlier people developed their own case to perform, but nowadays those who are following the CDISC standards, then their case to perform should be according to the CDISC standards only. Even the lab standards also. Lab standards means the data you will be collecting from the patients in different ways, right? So how the data will be originated, you will be collecting different methods. One is by questionnaire. Ask the patient whether he is feeling good or not. Okay, then whether he is feeling tension or nervousness, then what's the quality of living. So like that. So you can ask so many questions, right? So based on the questions only, we'll fill a case report form. The second one is based on measurements, like measure the blood pressure. So check the temperature. Okay. So those are, I mean, by with observations and by measurements. And the third one is asking questions or questionnaires. We'll collect the data into the case report forms. Then the other form is the laboratory. So like blood chemistries, you collect the blood sugar, cholesterol values, urea, creatinine, like that. So all those values will be collecting in the form of the laboratory values only. So the laboratory people also, they have to follow some standards to generate the reports. Okay, those who involved in the clinical trials. So they will follow the laboratory standards. So they should not view the report, in their own format. They should follow the laboratory standards. So in each and every level, we are following some standards. So the protocol development team, they follow the standards, and the data collection, mainly the CDMP, clinical data management process. So in the clinical data management process, they follow the CDASH and the lab standards. Then coming to the data tabulation. Tabulation is nothing but the data set. Okay, tabulation is nothing but the data set. So data sets. So data sets are, see, once the data got collected into the case report form, then those case reports will be cleaned, validated, and finally they will be converted into the data sets. So those data sets may not be, I mean, if you are following the CDASH standards, then those data sets are SDTM compliance only. But nowadays, if anybody is initiating a new trial, then they will follow CDASH products. But already some existing trials are going on, right? So already the data collection has been done. Now the data is there. Now the data is available. So how is the data? As they didn't follow the CDISC standards, now the data is existing in the form of the non-CDISC standards only. So then collection of the non-CDISC standard or non-SDTM compliance data collected, and later you convert into the SDTM data sets. Okay. Again, in the data set, there are two types of the data sets. One is SCND, the second one is SDTM. SDTM is nothing but study data tabulation model. Study data tabulation means the data collected from the patients after clinical study. So that's called the study data. The second one is the SCND. SCND means it is it's a standard for exchange of non-clinical data. Okay, standard for exchange of non-clinical data. So this non-clinical data means the patient, they won't provide any non-clinical data. So whatever the data we are collecting from the patients is called the clinical data only. Non-clinical data means some other things given by the sponsor. So don't bother about these data sets, because the data sets will be directly provided by the sponsor himself. Right? So as a SAS programmer, what we do after collecting the data from the data management team, then you convert into the SDTM standards. Then from the SDTM standards, you convert it into the ADaM data sets. Okay, then sorry. So here our role is get the data, which is a non-SDTM compliance, then convert into the SDTM datasets, and from the SDTM datasets, again you convert into the ADaM datasets. So what is ADaM dataset? It's for the analysis purpose. Analysis purpose means we should not make any analysis directly on the SDTM data. It will take a lot of time. So that's why we convert the SDTM datasets into the analysis datasets. Then what is the analysis datasets? It's nothing but the derived datasets. Means we are deriving some variables, okay, from these SDTM datasets and creating some separate datasets. So those datasets are ready for the analysis purpose. So that's called the ADaM standards. So after completion of the ADaM datasets, then we will be using those ADaM datasets to create the TLFs, tables, listings, and the figures. Now we'll be sending our reports to the FDA, right? So what type of reports we'll be sending to the FDA means we'll send the SDTM datasets, ADaM datasets, and the TLS whatever you created will be sent into the FDA. Okay, so and to define the SDTM and ADaM products, so define.xml will be created. Okay, define.xml. So as a SAS programmer, we involved in SDTM implementation, ADaM implementation, and the define.xml. And some other standards also there, ODM, operational data model, like that. But we never do all this, okay, because our SAS programmer main role is get the data and convert into the SDTM dataset and then convert into the RAM datasets and then create the TLM. This is the role of the SAS programmer, right? So in other areas, the SAS cannot be used. See, in the ODM, we won't use SAS. In the SDM also, we don't use the SAS. Even in the CDISC lab also, we don't use the SAS. Okay. So only to convert, because the data, whatever the thing you do is our SAS programming only, right? What the SAS programmer do, he will do the SAS programming. What the SAS programming do, it will collect the data, it will clean the data, then it will analyze the data and it will generate the report. That's it, right? So we can't create any type of the case report forms, or you cannot define any type of the standards in the laboratory and in the protocol, right? So that's why we can't do anything using the SAS. So whatever we do using the SAS, those things will be discussed here. And if you are still interested to learn more about this clinical data, so they're offering some courses. Okay, only usually this is a part of the regulatory affairs. I think in US, right? In US, some universities are offering the clinical regulatory affairs courses like 2 years course or 1 year course like the diplomas or masters also they are conducting. So in those they will explain the CDISC standards also. Okay, so CDISC is a part of that regulatory affairs. So there's a separate team who will work with the CDISC. Okay, so I hope you understood. Now what we'll be learning SDTM, ADaM and the define XML. These three I'll be explaining. Okay. Then coming to the SDTM. First we'll start with the SDTM. So in the SDTM the current version is 1.4 and SDTM implementation guide 3.2. Recently they also developed some other things, SDTM IGAP, SDTM implementation guide AP. Okay, so AP means like some it is one derivation of the SDTM only. So because still it is in the starting phase, so that's why still they are developing so many things, but we will be learning just only two. I mean, how to implement the SDTM. The second one is the SDTM. Those who want to know what is the SDTM, then they will just go through this 1.4 document. Those who want to implement it, then we use this SDTM 3.2. So you can see there are different versions are there. Okay, but current version is 3.2. SDTM IG and SDTM is 1.4. Okay, yeah. AP is fine, but this one, right? Associated Persons Implementation Guide. But I mean, I never did this because might be it is a new one. Okay, so but don't bother about this because still so many companies are not started using the SDTM and ADaM also. But those who are implementing the ADaM and SDTM, their reports will be scrutinized by the US FDA very quickly. Okay, if you are sending your data sets or something, I mean non-compliance of the SDTM and ADaM, then FDA is taking a lot of time. Okay, so that's why now we started using the SDTM and ADaM standards also recently. Okay, okay. So I downloaded this SDTM 1.4 and SDTM IG. So the recent two I downloaded. So first let us see the SDTM. So who created this SDTM? There is a separate team called the Submission Data Standards team. Usually the CDISC Submission Data Standards team. Okay, so it created the SDTM 1.4 version. Let's see about the versions. First they started in 2004, later 2005 they revised it, and finally it is 2013. So almost after 10 years, 1.4 final version is there. Okay. So before, I mean, after each and every version, they have done a lot of pilot projects also. Okay. Then after a successful implementation of those pilot projects, then now they're not doing any pilot projects. Okay. So even I think 2 years back also they have done some pilot projects on this SDT implementation. Okay. Even I have those results also. Fine. Now coming to the SDTM, the purpose of the SDTM, study data tabulation model means these are nothing but the study data sets. Study data sets which defines a standard structure for study data tabulation that are to be submitted as part of a product application to the regulatory authority such as USFDA. Okay. So this document is based on material prepared by the CDISC submission data standards team. Okay. See this one. Okay. So along with these data sets, we'll be submitting four things, right? One is subject profiles, data listings, and analysis datasets. Just now I explained you. We'll be submitting the SDTM datasets, ADaM datasets, and our TLFs, okay, and subject profiles also. So these four will be sending to the FDA. So the study datasets also is a part of our ECTD. I mean, how to send all these things to the FDA means there is a separate document is there. The document is called the ECT, Electronic Common Technical Document. So that Electronic Common Technical Document explains us what type of content you have to send to the FDA for approval of the drug. Okay, so that is a ECTD. That is a part of the ICH.org, right? It's one of the part of the multidisciplinary. You know the ICH. Okay, so in the ICH, it's a part. Okay, then yeah, I just prepared one document, CDISC implementation. See, as a SAS programmer, we will be learning the ADaM, SDTM, and define.xml. Okay. Okay. So first, let us see the case report forms. So there are different types of the case report forms. One is paper case report form, electronic case report form, then electronic data capture. There are three methods to collect the data. So paper case report form means, these are just the paper case report forms. They look like this. So these are the paper case report forms. So, it is 63 pages. For one study, it is 63 pages, or sometimes it may go 100, 200 also based on the study. Okay. So for each patient, these many case report forms will be there. If 5,000 patients are participated means, if everyone is having 100 pages booklet means 100 into 5,000. So you can expect 50,000 papers. So for each study, we need to collect we need to spend 50,000 of the papers, right? So it's very difficult to again get the data from this paper case report forms into electronic format. It's very difficult. So that's why nowadays nobody is using the paper case report forms, right? Then the second one is electronic case report forms. Electronic case report forms, it looks like a paper only, but it will be in your device, PDA, or in the system. It's a software installed in your system. Then collect the data. After collecting the data will be there in your system only, right? So electronic case report forms, the data will be there in your system only. Okay, means instead of collecting onto the paper, so you'll be collecting on or you just see the image like this. So when you see the image, then like this, the data will be collected. Adverse event, just click here and enter the information like this, and then click on save. Okay, it is just filling the form, online form. I mean, it's not online form. This software is present in your system only. Then just enter the patient information, patient ID, and whatever you want to enter. It will be showing all the list of the case report forms. Just click on that and enter it, and then click on yes. So for this purpose, we have so many softwares. I mean, in the olden days, they used this electronic case report form. They created this using what is it, Excel VBA. Okay, I mean Visual Basic, And they use some other softwares also. Even we can use the MS Access as a data backend database to create these forms of the this type of the forms. Okay, so these are the electronic. Then EDC means it's electronic data capture. Electronic data capture is nothing but it is an online form. Okay, it is not the online form. It is present in your system only. Electronic means it's an online form. Everyone fills in the online form so that it will get submitted immediately. The difference between the ECRS and electronic data capture is case report notes electronically means instead of paper, you will be using the system. That's it. EDC means you are filling the online form so that the sponsor will get immediately. So that is the difference between the EDC, electronic data capture. But nowadays, most of the companies they are using Oracle Clinical. I think you might be knowing about the Oracle Clinical. It is one of the clinical software widely used by most of the CRO organizations, like huge organizations. They are using the Oracle Clinical. The second one is Medidata. The company is MDSolve, Medidata Solutions. Okay. So the Medidata solution, they developed this Medidata Rave. The Rave is the software name. So they are using this Rave for the creation of the electronic data capture or electronic case report forms. See, Medidata is a company, Rave is the software. So they have different products actually. They have different products, but this Rave is especially designed to collect the data from the patients. For the EDC purpose, we use this Rave. Okay. See, they have some other products also. See here, analytics and benchmarks. They have Medidata Insights is the software. Medidata Insights for the analytics purpose. And for patient engagement, they have some more tools like Medidata Patient Cloud and mHealth. And for site engagement, then they have Medidata RBM, Medidata CTMS, Medidata Trial Assurance, Medidata Payments, Medidata TSDB like that. So the Medidata is company, they develop a lot of solutions. Okay, from starting to ending of the clinical trial. So they develop so many products. So it depends. Like it's not mandatory to purchase these products for your study planning or site engagement. So the companies, but most of the companies, they are using the Medidata Wave for the EDC purpose, and Oracle Clinical also will do the same thing. In the Oracle Clinical also we have so many products. Oracle Clinical, Oracle RDS, okay, I mean the remote data collection. Then Oracle Advertisement Reporting System, AERS. Like that in the Oracle also we have so many things out there, right? And one more important is Open Clinica. Okay. Open Clinica. The Open Clinica is an open source, so which is a free one. So anyone can use this, and you can build your own case report forms, and yeah, you can use this one also. Open Clinica, you can download and you can use it. But we never involved in the data collection, right? Only the data managers or the clinical data those who are interested in learning the CDM. CDM means clinical data management. They can download this Open Clinic and they can use it. It's a freeware. Okay, you can manage the clinical data using this Open Clinic. You can find a lot of videos also in this. Earlier, not now, like 6-7 years back, I used to give the training on the CDM also, clinical data management. That time people showed a lot of interest on the CDM, but nowadays, because in the CDM the salaries are very less. Okay, salaries are less, but only the graduates, not the postgraduates or those who have some I mean high degrees. They never choose the this CDM. Clinical data management work is just like an assistant to the doctor. We'll be working in a hospital, so we'll be dealing with the patients directly. So that's why the CDM, I mean, still you can find a lot of openings in CDM, but we can't expect more salaries, and moreover, it is not IT related, right? The SAS is an IT related. So after the SAS program in the clinical, then you can shift to some banking or financial sector also. But the CDM is not like that. So once you join as a clinical data manager, so you'll be working with the clinical data, right? So you never get the chance to use even the SAS also. It's just the CDM. So you will be a paramedic like that. Okay. So that's why people are not. I mean, only the graduates and those who are interested into the paramedical side, they are learning the civil. Fine. So this is one of the open source to learn the clinical data management. Okay, now how we get the data? Okay, so our main, the aim is to convert the non-SDTM to the SDTM, right? So our main thing is data sets will be given non-SDTM to SDTM. So this is our main objective, converting the non-SDTM data sets to SDTM standard data sets. Let us see some non-SDTM data sets, how the non-SDTM data sets will be. Okay. So in my C drive, I have some source data. These are all the non-SDTM data sets only. Okay, let me show you. This is the path. How the non-SDTM looks like. Yeah, I opened SAS environment. Now define the location. Some lib name. You can give non-SDTM as a table name, the library name, and give the location. Now you can see these are the non-SDTM datasets. Let us see the adverse. So prop contents data equal to okay. Let's submit it. Now you can see this SDTM, non-SDTM dataset is having subject number, body system of event, preferred term for event, like this. Okay, you can see subject number, body system of event, then preferred term for event, AACV, AAREL, AE action, like this. Okay, so these are not as per the SDTM standards. Okay. Let us see the SDTM standards. So it is a non-SDTM standard dataset, right? Now I will show you how the SDTM standard dataset looks like. So I have the SDTM standard datasets in this folder. Okay. Let's give this folder location. So lib name SDTM, give the path. Now you can see this dataset name is AE. Now it is showing study ID, domain, use subject ID, AESEQ, AE term, like this. So how to know these are SDTM standard and these are the non-SDTM standard. Okay. So SDTM standard means, okay, just I'm showing you instantly. Later we'll discuss in detail. So we have an implementation guide. So this is called the SDTM implementation guide. In the SDTM implementation guide, we have different domains. Okay. So let us see this AE domain. AE means adverse event. So the dataset name should be AE only. It should not be with any other name. So that's why if you see here, it is showing with the AE. Means it is meeting the naming convention. The dataset name should be AE only. Just by seeing this, you can understand this is an adverse event. It's a SDTM complaint name. This is okay. Then I printed the contents. I asked for the contents so that it is giving the contents of the AE. Now you can check here. Study ID means subject identifier character. Now see here, study ID character and subject identifier. Study identifier. Okay. So it is showing the same variable names as in the implementation guide. AESEQ, AESEQ, sequence number. It's a sequence number. Means whatever the variables name we are using in this particular data set should be according to the SDTM standards only. Okay, but here when you see the non-SDTM, it is showing subject, but the subject is not there here, right? Subject is not there, body CC is not there. So these are all the user defined variable names, but these variable names are as per the SDTM implementation guide only. Got it? So whenever you are creating the data sets, all the data set name should be according to the SDTM implementation guide, and the variables which we are using in the data set also should be according to the SDTM implementation guide only. So here what we'll be learning, what are the attributes of the, mainly see, SDTM is nothing but study data tabulation is nothing but the study data sets. We are all talking about the data sets only. SDTM is nothing but data sets. So study data sets means how many data sets will be sending to the FDA, then how the data set should look like, and what naming convention we have to use for the data set, and when you open the data set, what variables it has to show, and what are the attributes of the variable, and which format we use for that variable, and what are the properties of the variable. So we'll be talking about the dataset name and the dataset variables and the variable attributes. That's it. So this is about the SDTM, right? So here we'll be learning first how many data sets are there, and what are the conventions of the data sets, and what are the variable properties. Okay, if we learn this, that is fine. So here we'll be getting in two ways, right? Our objective is non-SDTM to SDTM standard datasets, right? So first thing is we will get the non-SDTM datasets directly. The second thing is, so this one. Okay, first we'll get the, see, here you just know Visa, we got the data sets like this. So these are all the non-SDTM data sets. Okay, then you have to convert these into the SDTM. This is one method. The second method is the data collected. I mean, first the case report forms will be there like this. Okay, so what the data management people do, so this is the case report form. How they collect the data into the case report forms means they will use their own variable names like ID number and phase, then study day, study drug related, severity. Like this, they will use their own names and create the data set just like this. Okay, just like this. They use their own name, preferred term, body system, subject, serious, AE text. Like they use their own name and they will collect the data. So here the data got collected into a non-SDTM data set. This is clear. But some people, what they do, they don't collect the data as it is from the case report forms. They will do the annotation of the case report forms. Annotation of the case report form means they will take the SDTM implementation guide. Okay. Then from the SDTM implementation guide, they will use these variable names. See, study ID, domain, use subject ID like this. So they will do the annotation. See here, red color. You can see the red color one. Study ID, domain, then use subject ID. So these are all the annotated annotations from the SDTM implementation guide. Means they will keep the SDTM implementation guide beside, and they will do the annotations of the case report forms. Okay, from the SDTM implementation guide. Then after doing the annotation, okay, then they use these annotated terms like this. See, this is one CS. See, while how they collect the data means, see, this is one CSV file. Okay. Now from the case report form, they will use these variable names. You can see study ID, then domain, then use subject ID, then AEDTC. Okay. Then AEDY. You can see EPOCH. Then visit, letter visit number, then AESCQ. Okay. AESC and AESC, AERL. So like this, they will use after annotation, they will be using these annotated words as the variable names, and under these, see, for example, A term is there. So what they fill in the A term, that will be collected under the A term, like this A term X. So from this case report form, they will collect the data into one row. Okay. So see, this is the data set. I mean, this is one data showing 2378 means, as the first one is observed row in the column number, then means totally how many observations are there? 2377 observations are there. So they collected this data from 2377 sheets. Okay, because each sheet data filled up as a one row. So it is one row per one patient, right? One row per one patient, like this. So they collect the data like this. Now what the SAS programmer do? We will convert this CSV file into the data set. But once you convert this into the data set, what happens? You will get the SDTM variable names only, but these are not the completely SDTM, because the variable names are according to the SDTM. But what about the attributes? Now, see, here we are talking not only the dataset names, not only the variable names. So you have to follow the even the complete attributes whatever defined in the SDTM implementation guide. Got it? Okay, let us see here. Here, when you see the yeah, see this one, AESCV. AESCV means it should contain a format. AESCV format should be there. Okay. So when you are converting the CSV file into dataset, what happens? It won't contain any type of format, right? But see, AESCV, right? See, when you are using an AESCV, okay, it is showing the severity. Okay, then it is having no any format, but you should add the format to this one. AECV. Got it. The variable, not only the variable names, it should meet all the attributes. Okay. So first of all, let us see what is this role, identifier, topic, qualifier, and what is this required, and what is this control term. So we'll be talking about this. Okay. Then after this, you will understand the attributes. So first, let us see the role. So there are different types of the, yeah, this is the one which I have shown to you, SDTM annotations to the case report form. Then annotating the case report forms. Later the data will be collected into CSV or other databases. Again, those things also we have to convert into the SDTM standard data sets. So these are the two things. Okay. So SDTM variables can be classified into 5 major roles. So we are talking about the role. Okay. So identifier, topic, timing, qualifier, role. So each variable should be, I mean, should fall like in one of these 5 class, I mean 5 categories. So for example, you can see here identifier, topic, timing, qualifier, role. So there are 5 types of the roles are there. Each variable, I mean, will fall at least in one, I mean, role like that. So here, subject 101 had mild nausea starting on study day 6. So it is one statement. Okay. Then here, subject 101 is an identifier variable. Okay. Subject 101 is an identifier variable. So you'll be collecting the subject 101 under the subject ID. So you are identifying with the subject number. So subject 101 is an identifier. Then nausea means it is a topic. Nausea or something, any adverse event or something. So it's a topic. Then timing variable means when it started on study day 6. So it's a timing variable. Qualifier variable means mild is a qualifier variable. What do you mean by mild? Mild means which will qualify the topic. So for example, no nausea. No nausea means there is no meaning for that nausea. Okay. So it's not qualified. The nausea is not qualified when you use the no, right? So that mild will make the nausea as a qualified topic. So that's why we call it a qualifier variable. Then what is the rule variable? Rule variable means like some algorithms. For example, how many days the patient suffer from the nausea means it started on study day 6 and ended on study day 8. Means 3 days the patient suffers from the nausea. So if you are doing some type of calculations, this comes under the rule variable. Rule. Got it. So we have totally 5 types of the variables. One is identifier, the second is topic variable, then the third one is timing variable, then qualifier rule. So we should not define any variable, okay, which won't meet any type of the rule. Means if you are adding a variable name is that should be at least from one of this role. Got it. So this is about the role. Then see the what is this required. So we have required and permittable and expected. So we have 3 types of the variables. Required means that variable should be there in your data set. Okay. So for example, here we define one data set called the AG. How many variables are there here? Only 15 variables are there. So is it really SDTM compliance? No, because here we have only 15. But according to this 3.2 implementation guide, so it should have, you can see, it should have multiple things. See, required means that variable must and should be present in the data set. How many are required here? You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 only, right? Yeah. In the adverse event, 6 are required. Okay. 6 are required. See, AEDCOD. That is required. You can see here AEDCOD is there or not. Yeah, AEDCOD is there. That's required. So the required variable must and should be present in the data set. Then permissible means if you are adding some A group ID, adverse event group ID. So this is permittable. Permittable means it's not like an error. Okay, it may be present in your data set or may not be present, but it's not an error. So it is a permittable. Permissible means yes, you can keep that group ID also in your data set. That's a permittable. Then we have one more, that is expected. So what do you mean by expected? Expected means actually some variables will sometimes the variable values are missing. Okay, so though the values are missing, it should be there in your data set. Okay, so that's called the permissible. Permissible means okay, I will just tell a small example. So I mean, a manager is running a some supermarket. Okay, so at the end of the day, the manager will create a list. I mean, like what is the total sales of the day? Okay, and what is the requirement? Like that, he will prepare a report and he will send that report to the. I mean, he's some manager. Okay, so our owner. I mean, there is an owner. So a manager is completely managing that departmental store, and at the end of the day, he will be sending the sales report to the manager, to the owner. So the owner will, at the end of the day, the owner will check like what's the total sales of the day, right? So every day, the manager is sending the report to the owner. Okay? But one day, so something happened. Something happened. Might be there is no sales, or might be there is some holiday declared. Okay. So when the holiday declared, what happens? The departmental stores will be closed, or no sales happen on that particular day. Okay. So I mean the manager, what I mean, he has to send a empty report, right? No sales happened. So he has to create an empty report and he should send it to the owner. But the owner is still waiting because the manager thought anyway it's empty reporting, right? So instead of sending the empty report, so what is the use of sending the empty report? That's why the manager didn't send any report to the owner. But the owner is still waiting because the owner doesn't know like no sales happened in that day, right? So that's why the owner is still waiting. So instead of making the owner waiting, you better send an empty report, right? So that the manager, I mean the owner, he won't wait for the report, right? So though there is a missing value, okay, though there is no sales, but you have to send the report. So that is mandatory. So expected means that variable should be present though it is a missing value. Got it? So expected means that should be there. It is also required, but the required should not be missing. Got it? I hope you understood. Required variables, permittable variables, and expected. Required means it should contain the data. It should not be blank. Then permittable means the variable itself is not required. If you keep the variable, that is okay. Then expected means the variable should be there, but if it contains data, that's okay. If it contains no data also, that's okay. But the variable must and should be there. Got it? So like this, there are three types of the variable: permittable, expected, and the required. Okay. So this is about the, the required, permittable, and role. Okay. Then what are the attributes of a normal data set? See, when you take any data set, okay, our normal data set, what happens? It contains these attributes: column name, type, length, format, informat, and the label or description of the variable. So we have how many variables? Three. How many attributes? 3 plus 3. Total we have 6 attributes. Okay. So, but in the SDTM should have not only the 6 attributes, it is having these many attributes: variable name, variable label, type 3, then control terminology is nothing but the formats 4, role 5, and nodes 6 and core. So totally the attributes of the SDTM dataset should be 7. Okay, so here I wrote all the attributes. It should have the variable name, descriptive label, then the data type, whether it is numerical character, then format, origin, where it is originated from which case report form, then the role, then comments. Okay, these are the 7 things. Now, how many data sets will be sending to the FTA? So here I will be showing you on sample. So these are the SDTM data sets we sent to the FTA. So this is a folder we are sending to the FTA. So we have one folder. You can see this folder name is SDTM datasets. So this folder is related to one study. So we'll be sending this folder to the FDA. So this folder contains multiple XPT data, XPT files. It's not the SAS program. It is looking like SAS program, but actually it's an XPT file, .xpt. XPT means it's a export transport file. Okay. So you should not send the dataset directly. You should convert the datasets into XPT, and these XPT files will be sent to the FDA. Okay, you can see here SAS export transport file ae.xpt. So how many datasets are there? AE, CM, DM, DS, like this. So if you count these, 30 items are there. If you remove the 4, then 26 items we are sending. So why we are sending 26 datasets only? Means, is there any limitation of the data sets? And AE comes under which group? IE comes under which group? So all these data sets will be divided into 6 classes. Okay, 6 classes. First 3 classes are the interventions, findings, and events. Then the other 3 classes are domain datasets, trial design model, and the relationship datasets. Like this, totally we have 6 classes of the datasets. Means we should not send the dataset simply. We have to classify the datasets into different classes. Okay. So those classes also defined in the implementation guide. So I'll be showing here. Yeah, now you can see the general classes, general observation. As I told you, there are 6. Interventions, events, findings are general observation classes, and there are other 3 are there. Yeah, this list is very important. If possible, you can make a printout of this page. So the SDTM standard domain models. So we have these many domains. Domain is nothing but a data set here. Don't confuse. Domain is nothing but one single data set. Okay, it's a domain. And the class means Interventions is one class, events is one class, findings is one class, three classes, and trial design, relationship, and the special purpose. Okay, so there are totally 6 classes. Each classes contain different domains. Okay, so when you see the events, adverse events, disposition, healthcare encounters, clinical events, protocol deviation, medical history, these all comes under the events. Clear? So like this, totally we have 6 classes. Okay, this is very important. If you count it, then you can understand how many are there. Just count. Special purpose are 4, interventions are 5, events means you have to count all this. Okay. When you count this, uh, totally 47 domains. So we are using 1.4 version, then SDTM IG is 3.2 version. Okay. Here I made totally 3 classes: interventions, findings, and events. 25 domains, and actually these 3 classes contain the 25, and trial arms are 5, special purpose are, and relationship domain totally 47. Domain is nothing but data set here. Okay, totally 47 data sets we have, but all these data sets also not mandatory. Got it? So here in this study you can see 26 only we are sending, but totally we have 47. Okay, means what data sets you have to send, it will be decided by the statistician. I mean, it will be decided by data managers only, right? So if you are not conducting any type of microbiological examination, then you won't be getting that type of the microbiological data set, right? So you see here, microbiology, microscopic findings. It is not mandatory in all the trials, right? So some microbiology susceptibility test, MS. So this is not mandatory in all the clinical trials. Might be this is required only in doing some antibiotic sensitivity test like that. So it depends. I mean that data set depends on the data only. Okay. So this is about the versions and variable attributes. But how to implement this for me? There are different methods to implement the SDTM. You can use the base SAS, or you can use one clinical data standards toolkit, or you can use the clinical data integration studio. Okay, so these 3 you can use to implement the SDTM, and after implementation, you have to validate it. Means whether the one which you created is really according to the SDTM or not. So for the validation purpose also, we have some tools called the basis. In the basis, we use the proc CDISC. It's a procedure to verify the data set is SDTM compliant or not. Then we have one more, SAS Clinical Standards Toolkit, SAS CDI, and Open CDISC Validator. Okay, so here I will be showing you CDISC Validator also, and proc CDISC also, and here we will be implementing the base SAS, and I will give a video how to implement, how to do the mapping using the clinical DA studio also. Okay, I'll explain these things practically. So this is the, I mean, this is the sequence. First, the data, the case report forms. Later, the data managers collect the data from the case report forms and build the databases. That is the non-CDISC complaint. Then we'll be doing the SDTM. Then later, ADaM implementation. Yeah. So, yeah. But before doing this SDTM implementation, you should know the ISO 8601 format. So, what is the dates and intervals? We should not show the simply the dates and intervals in our DDMM YV format. We have a defined format is there. So how to I mean write our dates and intervals using this ISO 8601 format. So first of all, we have to discuss this thing. After discussing this, then we will start using the SAS coding to convert the non-SDTM to the SDTM. Okay. So yeah, my request is before starting the implementation, we just go through these 2 documents, SDTM and SDTM IG 3.2. Okay, if you can go through this, you will understand some concept. Okay, so after that, tomorrow I will explain the implementation. So once we do the implementation, then we can do the validation also. Okay. Yeah, that's it for today. So we'll meet tomorrow at the same time. So you can download these two, or else you can accept on Skype also. And I'll be sending these non-SDTM datasets, SDTM datasets, all these files through an email. Yeah. Okay then. Bye. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye, Kiran.